Recently, I posted a video in my channel about UniFi Site Manager and OSPF. Ubiquiti provides a very convenient way. You can use the Site Manager to easily establish the connections among your multiple sites, and then internally it will use OSPF to enable the routing. But if you don't want to use SiteMagic, or you may know SiteMagic utilizes WireGuard as the VPN. So if you don't want to use WireGuard, then you have to create site-to-site VPN by yourself, right? Then if you also want to use OSPF for routing, whether or how you can do that, in this video, let's test it out. This is my lab environment. Behind the main router, I have two UniFi gateways, UX3 Pro and UDM Pro. They don't have public IP addresses. They are behind the main router. They also have their own respective VPNs. So internally, I have two sites. In this video, I'm going to use IPsec to establish the site-to-site VPN. Then we will see whether we can create an area for OSPF. Then add the two routers to the same area, establish the OSPF routing. First, let's configure site-to-site VPN as shown in the diagram. For the UX3 Pro, I want to use the primary one port. For the UDM Pro, I want to use the secondary one port, and I want them to connect using the standard IPsec VPN. In the UniFi network controller for the first router, UX3 Pro, let me go to VPN. As you can see, now there's no site-to-site VPN setup yet. Let me create one. Choose IPsec and let me give it a name as IPsec. And for the pre-shared key, let me use a super secured one. For the local IP, remember, as shown in the diagram, I want to use the primary one port, which has the static IP address. Okay, I'm good with this one. For the remote IP, basically it's talking about the right side of the tunnel, right? So let me input this static IP address for the second router. Okay, for VPN type, it's crucial we select route-based, because to support the OSPF, we need route-based IPsec VPN, and we need to enable the tunnel IP because the IP address will be needed in the OSPF setup. So let me use the one I indicate in the diagram. You can give it whatever private IP address you want, as long as it doesn't conflict with others. Okay, for the remote network, this is about routing already. I don't want to use static routing. That's why I choose dynamic. Later, we will enable OSPF. For now, for the VPN setting, I simply choose dynamic. And I don't want to go to the advanced setting. Auto is fine for me for this video. Let me add it. If we go to the overview, we can see the VPN setup is there, but the status is not showing up yet because we haven't created the VPN setup in the other end, the second router, right? Now let me go to the second router, go to VPN, create site-to-site VPN, IPsec, give it a name. We can use the same name, no problem. For the pre-shared key, I need to use the same key I used in the first router. And then for the local IP, remember I want to use the secondary one port, right? So here I choose the 1.2. Now I'm okay with this local IP. For the remote IP, it is talking about the left side router. So I'm going to use the one indicated in the diagram. Okay, VPN type, for the same reason, I need to stick to route-based. For tunnel IP, I need to enable it and then give it the one I indicated in the diagram. Okay, for the remote networks, for the same reason, I need to choose dynamic. That's it. Let me click add. Go to the overview. So they are both showing offline. I already gave them several seconds, but the status is still not changed. It's very possible something is wrong. Let me go to the second router, check the site-to-site VPN again. Let me validate the pre-shared key. Okay, that explains. I missed a character at the end. Okay, it should fix the issue. Apply changes, go back. Okay, it's showing online now. The status is fine. The uptime is increasing. We successfully established the side-to-side VPN. But now, if I go to the VLAN 10 of the first router and try to ping the VLAN 255 in the second router, you can see it's not pingable. The reason is we haven't set up the routing between the two routers yet. That's why VLAN 10 cannot connect with VLAN 255 yet. Now let me SSH into the first router. Just have a look at the IPsec configurations. So because we use IPsec, I know the tunnel configuration file is in the folder etc ipsec.d. Okay, let's see the tunnels. You see the configuration file. See, basically it reflects what we set on the UniFi network controller. For example, for the tunnel, it indicates what's the left and the right side IP address, just like what we set. Okay, nothing special. Then let's check the interface the system created because of the IPsec tunnel. Let me run IP link. See the very last one, the VTI64. It is the virtual tunnel interface for the IPsec connection. Let me run ifconfig. See, for this VTI64 interface, it has this IP address like we set on the UI about tunnel IP, right? See here is point to point. Because we are talking about VPN, interface type is point to point. This is important because it will impact the coming OSPF configuration. Now let's proceed with OSPF. For the left side router, the UXG Pro, let me go to Setting, Routing, OSPF tab. Then there's nothing configured yet. So starting from the router ID, I don't like the default one. Let me give it a name. So basically this can be any valid number as long as it's unique. Then for areas, I want to create the area 0, the so-called backbone area. Okay, so for area ID 0000, area type normal. For network, as indicated on the diagram, I want to enable the VLAN 10 in the relationship, right? So choose VLAN 10. Then I need to choose another one. That interface will be used by the two routers to do the communications. So that's why I need to select the S2S IPsec. This interface name comes from our side-to-side VPN configuration. Ubiquiti simply used the IPsec configuration name as the interface name. Even though internally we just checked in the backend, the real interface name is called VTI64, right? Okay, save it. Then add area. After you have a new area added, you can see the new section called interfaces. So by default, for each network you choose, Ubiquiti will add that corresponding interface. So for the VLAN 10 interface, it shouldn't participate in the OSPF. So I choose it to be passive. Save. And then for the VPN interface, you can see here the network type is grayed out and the type is point to point. Why is point to point? We already checked in backend about the VTI64 interface, right? It's for VPN, it's point to point. And then for cost, for this video, I simply leave it as default. For authentication, let me try MD5. Why not? Give it an ID and give it a super secure key. Okay, for the hello intervals and dead intervals, I want to leave them default, but you need to pay attention when you configure the two sides. They need to be the same. Otherwise, you may have a problem to establish the neighbor relationship. Okay, I want this one to be active, so I don't want to choose the passive interface. I'm done with this interface setting. Save it. Then I'm ready to add this OSPF configuration. Before I add it, let me go to the first router's SSH session. Start monitoring the packets by running TCP dump. This is the command I'm going to run. What I'm saying is run TCP dump only for the interface VTI64 for this interface, right? And then I want to write the captured packets to a file. To what file? To this file. And at the same time, while writing to the file, I want TCP dump to display the captured packets on the screen so that we can monitor it in real time as well. Okay, let me run it. You see there are already something going on in the interface. Why? Because the site-to-site VPN was already established, it's up, so that's why you see some traffics, right? But you don't see any OSPF traffics because we haven't even added the very first configuration yet, right? Now, from the UniFi network controller for the first router, let me click the add button. Okay, it's added. So let's see whether anything's captured in the left side. Okay, see the hello packet for OSPF. So it's sending out from the IP address for the VPN tunnel for the left side router. But you only see the hello packet from the first router. At this moment, the first router is just sending the OSPF hello packet through this interface, but there's no OSPF successfully established between the two routers because we haven't started the right side router configuration yet. Then let me go to the right side router's network controller, go to routing, OSPF, and for router ID, give it a name I like. Okay, then create new. The area ID need to be the same. Only if the two routers belong to the same area, they can establish the neighbors, right? And for area type, normal, select network. As indicated on the diagram, I want to use VLAN 255, select it. At the same time, I want to select the site-to-site VPN interface. Save, add area, and then configure the interface. First, for the VLAN 255, I want to set it to passive. For the VPN interface, I want to change the authentication to the same way as the left side router, and I need to make sure I have the same key. And for hello intervals, dead intervals, I want to keep them default so that they will have the same value as the first router. I don't want it to be passive. Okay, save it. Oh, I need to add the key. Okay, save it. Okay, so now I am ready to click the add button. Pay attention to the left side. There should be some new types of OSPF packets. Add. Okay, I see the hello packet from the right side router already. Then see the database description packet, and then link state request packet, and the link state update packet. Give it some time. When it's stabilized, we can stop the capturing, and then let's look into the details using Wireshark. Okay, I don't see new changes. Let me stop the capturing. Then from this Linux client, let me run scp command to retrieve the file we just captured using TCP dump from the UniFi router. Okay, we got the file. Then let me use Wireshark to open it locally. Now it's opened. Let's look into it. So before any change happened, see the hello packet. So this one from the left side router. Let me open the OSPF section in the packet detail. Then for the OSPF header, we can see it's from this router ID, and the area is R0, is backbone. And then if we check the hello packet details, you can see there's no DR or designated router. There's no BDR or backup designated router. I don't see any active neighbors because at this time we haven't enabled the OSPF in the second router yet. So this packet makes sense, right? And then see the first packet sent out by the second router. It has almost the same information. At this particular time, we just enabled the OSPF for the second router. The neighbor relationship hadn't been established yet. That's why we don't see any neighbor information in the packet. See, starting from this one, the neighbor relationship was starting to be established. For example, if we check the LS update packet sent from the first router, we can see the first router share what it knew regarding the area, which is the VLAN 10, and the network for the VPN interface. And if we check the LS update from the second router. Similar situation, it shared the VLAN 2 file, which it knew for sure, and then the network for the VPN interface. So in this way, the two routers exchange the information, share the network information. After the acknowledgement at the end, let's check the final hello packet sent out from the first router. See, it has the active neighbor, which is the second router. And if we check the hello packet from the second router, it has the active neighbor, which is the first router. So at this time, the neighbor relationship had already been successfully established. We can validate that's the case by trying to connect to VLAN 255 from VLAN 10. Ping the VLAN 255 IP address. Yeah, it's pingable. This proves we successfully configured side-to-side IPsec VPN and OSPF. So we didn't configure any static routing between VLAN 10 and the VLAN 255, but now they are able to communicate with each other thanks to OSPF. Okay, we are not done yet. Let's go back to Wireshark. I'm not sure whether you noticed when we checked the final hello packet, for example, this one sent out from the second router. See, even though it has the active neighbor information here, but if you check the designated router, DR, or backup designated router, BDR, they are showing blank. So if you watched my previous video about manually configuring OSPF, you may know once the neighbor relationship is established, one of the routers should act as DR, the other one should be a backup DR, right? Why for this case? Even though we know these two routers are connected, they are neighbors already, why there's no DR, also no BDR? The reason is we are connecting them using VPN. The nature of the interface is P2P or point-to-point. So for this type of interface, no DR or BDR election is required. So that's why you don't see DR and BDR information. Okay, so that's the only thing I want to point out. That's it for this video. Thanks for watching.